how's it going? Quick one today. Just because it amuses me, in some local news where I am, you look out the window and it looks like, well, Mordor. It looks like the world's on fire. Turns out it was, of course, caused by some slack-jawed pansy who's decided to have a gender reveal party. I'll tell you what, I've never understood how Chad some of the parties and events they have out here are, like baby showers. That wasn't a thing in England in the 80s and the 90s. Even proms, we didn't have proms when I was in school. Well, we didn't have much, but we certainly didn't have a little party where we all put a tuxedo on and spend the entire evening trying to finger your date, unsuccessfully. They love a Chad party out here. And gender reveal parties is most definitely one of the chaddest things I've ever seen. Sorry, I think I have to point out to all you young thrusters listening that Chad in the military is like, I suppose the best way of describing it would be lame. I think in this day and age, young people sort of think Chad is good. Anyway, gender reveal party, blame for the fire. What made me laugh about this is I think the type of person who has a gender reveal party is also the type of person who would like to signal their virtue on Twitter about how much they're into the environment. But if you can't even do the basics, practice good fire discipline while you're out in the wilds, how much of an environmentalist are you? It turns out a smoke-generating pyrotechnic device sparked the fire, which is now spread over 7,000 acres. So well done, lads. You know, the type of person who'd have a gender reveal party isn't going to be some, a logger. It's probably going to be some virtue signalling lefty twat who has an Instagram account. So yeah, that makes me laugh, as usual. Like, seriously, look out the window here today. It's like Mount Doom. There's just an orange-grey tint to everything outside. Helicopters rescued more than 200 people. And yeah, cheers. Cheers easy, baby reveal. So yeah, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just being a bit of a wanker, but I just assume gender reveal party equals narcissistic weirdo lefty who was probably the first person to have a go at me for drinking a few cans because it's bad for the environment. And honestly, I reckon I have a smaller carbon footprint than 90% of the country. I try to walk almost everywhere, but I seriously do about 8,000 miles a year on my car. I always use public transport, I rarely fly. I don't eat too much because I'm not a fat knacker. I mean, there's an obvious one, isn't it? If you're fucking eating 40,000 calories a day, your carbon footprint's bigger because it takes... Food's got a big water footprint, if you didn't know. Yeah? Look, steak, 600 gallons. Ham, 135 gallons. Eggs, soda, coffee, wine. Everything is bad for the environment. And these lefty twats who are constantly having a go at me, well, loads of them are fat knackers and vegans and almonds and soy and everything else has a big carbon footprint. So stop dripping. If you look like 500 pounds of chewed bubble gum, you can wind your neck in because you've got a fucking carbon footprint the size of Meghan Markle. And she does more flying than bastard Superman. Other things I was going to whinge about today, just on a whim. Great story in the Federalist. Guy called Rick Grenell. He's the former acting director of the National Intelligence, and he basically had to go at all the reporters in the White House press briefing because it really is infantile over here. Like, the Trump derangement syndrome is insane to the point where they don't talk about anything else, like nothing. The White House could get reduced to ash by a North Korean nuke, and all the reporters would be saying is things like, Mr. Trump, is it true that you once said you fingered a cheerleader? Or, Mr. Trump, is it true that you once said something racist? Or, Mr. Trump, is it true that you don't care about the environment? Like, they're like children. And Rick Grenell just went to town on them.
Question for Ambassador Grinnell.
Another follow-up question for post the vote, please.
Ambassador Grinnell, clearly you were effective here as the special envoy to these talks between Serbia and Kosovo. But I wanted to ask you about another initiative you led. Last year, you kicked off the Trump administration push to decriminalize homosexuality.
Yeah, I'm going to just talk about Kosovo and Serbia. I don't know if you can find it on a map, but this is atrocious. I have to tell you guys, you might be too young to understand what this issue is about. Maybe the older journalists should step up and say, this is a big deal. This is a big issue. I'm astounded at what happens in Washington, D.C., and especially in this room. I got to tell you, get substantive. Maybe it's too complicated of an issue for you all.
Rick, respectfully, this is the first time we've had the opportunity to speak with these individuals.
Okay, but today's about Kosovo and Serbia. Let's take a little time and talk about this 21-year issue. Peter. I mean, 21-year issue, we're getting the same questions that are all politics. You guys don't understand what's happening outside of Washington, D.C. People aren't listening to you anymore. It's really a crisis in journalism. And I think it's because people are too young to understand issues like Kosovo and Serbia.
Can I ask
How about a
Rick
substantive
Constantine,
question?
please? I don't think any of us came here for a lecture about our questioning.
Okay, well, I didn't come
But the
here
question
to
I
not
would like
talk
to
about
ask
anything
you,
about Kosovo
the
and
question
Serbia.
I would like to ask you is it accurate to say that it's full economic normalization? There was some ambiguity as to whether that is what the deal is about. And
What do you mean by full?
well, that's the question for you.
No. It's a question for you. What's your definition of full? This is economic normalization for whatever the two parties could bring together. A whole bunch on rail, a whole bunch on water, a whole bunch on different industries.
So more accurate to say working towards economic normalization, is that fair?
No, I think it's incredible economic normalization. Air, rail, motor, opening borders, a whole bunch of industries. So again, I don't know what's missing, and I defer to you to say.
Great, that one next time. It's just unbelievable. Like, I know I've said before that the average Joe in America is sort of badly ill-informed about the rest of the world. And I'm not having a go at Americans, my fellow Americans, for that. Because, of course, when you live in the biggest, most powerful economic titan, military hyperpower, the only dog on the block that really matters, of course you can't blame people for being a bit ignorant. And like I keep saying, when you're a kid born in the UK, you learn all about the rest of the world in primary school because we're a little island. If you want to go to the beach, you end up going to Spain when you're 7. Most Brits have been in about 5 foreign countries before they're in double figures in their age. The Americans, we've got everything, haven't we? Want to go to the beach, you go to California. Want to go skiing, you go up north. Go to Washington State or wherever it is people go. Whistler. You got everything. You got jungles, woods, mountains, rolling hills, oceans, islands, everything you fucking need. So you can't have a go at Americans for being a little bit insular. And, you know, it's the same with sticking up for the British when people say, oh, you arrogant Brits don't learn a foreign language. Well, yeah, because everyone speaks English. You think I'm going to waste some valuable brain power learning some pointless, shitty dialogue that only about fucking 11 million people learn? Shut up, you silly bastard. Chinese is one thing that's worth learning, but I'm not going to cram something like Danish into my brain. Who needs to speak that? So, sorry lads. Don't have a go at us for being ignorant twats. I know it happens. But anyway, so Israel announced it would establish formal diplomatic ties with Kosovo and Serbia, and they're going to each open an embassy in Jerusalem, and that's a big deal. And it's just weeks after Israel opened up relations with the UAE. Another historic agreement. I mean, all they do is cut these people off when they're telling really important stuff, like the amount of war and death and misery and suffering that's spawned out of these religious conflicts for literally thousands of years. There should be no bigger story. But what is the big story? Racist, sexist, homophobe. It's laughable. Laughable. And seriously, these young fucking reporters in DC need to give their head a shake because it's laughable. I'm glad he gave the fuckers what for. The one last thing I will squeeze in, because I know people will ask me about it, and the reason I purposely didn't make a video all about it is because every time I talk about these type of subjects, I get bastard banned. But let's do it quickly. Birmingham stabbings, man arrested on suspicion of murder. Yeah, the bloke who knifed some poor bastard and stuck it in another 7 people has been found and arrested. He was being held on 7 counts of attempted murder, happened over 90 minutes on Sunday. Forensic officers were conducting searches at an end of terrace house in a cul-de-sac where neighbours said a police raid took place in the early hours. He went mental, he knifed every bastard, but the BBC and all of the rest of the mainstream media have been desperately avoiding one issue that we all knew was coming. First of all, it was in the gay village, which, is that a coincidence? There's one group, one specific religious group, who have a real issue with the gays, isn't there? I won't even name them, I will let you do it, yourselves. But one little group, one specific group nobody wants to talk about. Police said they take the attacks as random, or randomly happen to be in the gay area. That's weird, isn't it? It's not like the entire of the UK is one big gay area. Usually there's very, very small parts of towns that are gay areas. I think it's a bit peculiar that it was so random, but I'll leave that to you. Said we're after the man who did these terrible crimes. Well, they love talking about how terrible everything is and how reprehensible everything is, but they don't like talking about certain groups that are more likely to do these terrible crimes, do they? Yeah, anyway, I'll put the link in the description. The entire story is fluff. There's a nice picture of the coppers on the on the Rainbow Road. All fluff. As little mention of the perpetrator as humanly possible on the BBC. As you knew it would be. Every story you check, same on CNN, just a little bit of fluff. Oh, a terrible man did something terrible. Definitely wasn't a terrorist, definitely wasn't motivated by hate, it definitely wasn't a certain religion. Definitely not, it definitely wasn't foreign. Same on ABC. 27-year-old man, probably from England. Yeah, those English, they hate the gays, everybody knows that. Oh, no, nothing in there. No, who knows where he's from? Who knows where he's from? I believe the guy that stabbed them poor buggers last month was Libyan, but shh, keep that quiet. Don't want anyone to know that. Don't want anyone to know inconvenient facts. You know who does tell it like it is, though? My man Nigel. Why have West Midlands Police not told us who committed the knife attacks last night? I think I know the answer. Base Nigel. I think you do as well, Nigel. And guess what? So do I. Look at this twat here. Even if it was an immigrant, please tell me what the difference is between an immigrant who might stab someone and a British citizen who might stab someone. What's the difference, Nige? I've got this, Nige. I've got this. Allow me, Nigel. I've got this. Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. 3.5%, open your heart, knob jockey. The difference is, we've got shitbags of our own we have to deal with, right? If some shitbag born and raised in the UK stabs a bunch of people, well, that's a nightmare, and we have to lock the bastard up and make sure he doesn't do it again. But, and it's a big but, if you import someone from a foreign country with no background checks like I had to do, no medicals, no anything, no basic common sense checks to make sure he isn't a career criminal or a shitbag or a murderer or a psychopath, and he then goes and kills a load of people or, let me think, blows up children at a pop concert, every single one of those people who died because you didn't do your due diligence, you brain-dead lefty fuck-knuckle. And all those people are dead purely because you let them in. If you didn't let them in, all those people would still be alive. Little Sassy from Manchester, little girl, that little blonde girl in fucking Bolton, they would all still be living and breathing, living their lives and growing old as they're supposed to do if fuckwit, arrogant, ignorant, clueless lefty arseholes didn't throw caution to the wind and open the floodgates for men with criminal records as long as your arms and a fucking penchant for terrifying acts of violence, you absolute thunder cunt. That's why. Is dead babies not as important as virtue signaling? Tell me that. Yeah, and I told the silly cunt. Because we have more than enough criminals of our own to worry about without importing them. Every life taken by an immigrant is a life that would have been saved if we had sensible and properly managed rules and laws and borders, right? This is common sense. Anybody with the IQ higher than that of a fucking yogurt knows this. And it's criminally negligent of the state. Seriously, if my kids got killed at Manchester, I would personally sue the government. I would want the civil servant that okayed these fucking Libyan killers, jihadis, known jihadis, I would want them fucking charged. Manslaughter at the very least. Because they are responsible. And like I said, I only hope nothing that bad ever happens to me. Because I think I'll fucking snap and I'll give the civil service the bastard good news myself. Absolutely criminal. Criminal. And it breaks your heart when you see little girls getting killed because our government hasn't got the balls to put in some common sense immigration controls. Like I said, they have it in America. If I knifed some fucker when I was a teenager, they wouldn't have given me a visa. And everyone agrees that's fucking perfectly reasonable. Christ on a bike. Anyway, I've had enough for one day. I'm wound up again. Always get raged when I listen to this shit. I don't see how you see dead kids and you don't get angry. Maybe I'm weird. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'll do a live stream on Wednesday or something to break the week up. But fuck me. I'm off to do some push-ups and have a stiff drink. Because I get wound up reading this shit. It doesn't need to happen. These kids don't need to die. Criminal negligence from the shitheads that run the bastard country. Unbelievable. I'll see you guys later.